Hey, anyone that's on my YouTube channel for some random reason still. So I'm currently playing the 1 month league race thing, and I tried to make a new spec for it because I thought it'd be fun, and I had a idea revolving around the Abyss's helm, and I made a crit dagger Phys spectral throw build. So there's my dagger, there's my Abysses. So I found that they're relatively cheap, and they are pretty much the only way to make a effective physical spectral throw build that doesn't involve all sorts of crazy gear, as far as I'm concerned. Because without it, you'll end up just hitting like a wet noodle, and you're better off being elemental buzzsaw. But I had an idea for this spec, and I wanted to try it out and see how it is, because I figured it could race to higher content quicker because it's relatively cheap and there's a few risks involved with it. So I'm currently 85 on the 1 month league. This is my second character, and I started a few days late, so I'm actually moving along quite nicely, I think. Um, for this spec, I'm running two auras, Hatred and Discipline. So with those up, I have 4600 ES, and I have currently 10k DPS with a 5 link. I also use Molten Strike, which is really quite cool as a single target ability. It's only a 4 link, and it has Molten Strike, crit damage, wed, faster attacks, while my ST uses Spectral Throw, added fire, LMP, faster attacks, and the current 5th link I just got is crit damage. But I'd probably be using Power Charge on crit instead. I currently use crit damage because I play with a friend who is a Wander, and so he conduits all his power charges to me, and it's like I'm wearing a 6th link. Plus he has Wrath and Anger, which quite substantially increase my DPS. So we use an Abysses, and we have cast and damage taken, Enduring Cry, Mortal Coil, increased duration. You need this because you're going to be taking some hits. And yeah, like because of the extra damage taken, you take some substantial hits, and that makes you immune for a while, as well as helping with Reflect. For jewelry, something like this is good. Some Phys damage. Phys damage is pretty king on jewelry at the moment for this spec. Accuracy is nice. Crit multi, and crit damage if you can spare it. That's just a bad ring that I still have to use for the resists. That I also picked up. So Phys damage, the diamond ring's really nice to be using if you can. Some resists, because yeah, we're low on them. Now the dagger doesn't have to be anything special, but its physical damage needs to be kinda high, and it needs decent crit chance. The attack speed, it doesn't really matter. It's more to help with playstyle, and also it helps your DPS if you pair with someone that's Wrath and Anger based. That'll increase your DPS. The gloves, I'm using these things. They're actually pretty high DPS for a CI build. It's either those or Malagaros or a really nice pair of rares. But I haven't come across a really nice pair of rares. I'm not rich enough to buy a pair. Malagaro, I might get around to buying, because I think at this point I'd rather trade some of my attack speed for some harder hittingness and more crit. Boots, you don't really need movement speed, because you're whirling around everywhere. But, you can still run places since you're not using lionized boots. You don't completely destroy your movement speed. But yeah, you want some evasion, some ES, and some resist on them. Using a magnate belt, because I found that, and that's what I'm using. You can't use a Meganauds, you can't use a rustic sash. The main thing right here is for some strength, because you need some strength in certain places, either here, on the rings, or on your amulet. Because we're in a pretty strength low spec, but you need it for your Abysses, for your gems, for your Molten Strike, yeah. Shield, you want high ES, some resists. You typically would want an evasion shield as well, so an evasion ES shield, but this is the cheapest thing I came across at the time, so I bought it. But for the chest as well, you want an Evasion ES shield, Evasion ES chest, because it helps to create your links. Plus, the evasion we get from our passive tree ends up giving us a little bit of decent evasion. So I've got 23%, and that's mostly just from chest and boots. If I get the shield as well, I should probably have around 30%, which is pretty nice. And helps for mitigating that extra damage we take from physical, as well as my block chance. So now the passive tree itself, I started as a ranger, because that is what I don't have over level 90 in this general tree area. So I chose to do that. I want a ranger at that high level. So started through here, got the accuracy, projectile damage, ballistic mastery, went down, grabbed finesse. At that point, I would go up, grabbed charisma, grabbed haste, some physical damage. I got this just for the strength that's needed, but originally I had these two to help with the strengthening requirements. Evasion ES, self-explanatory, crits, Ghost Reaver, so you can leech to your shield. These are the ones I'm currently going for, because I'm really not sure what else to get. Some dagger nodes, some more evasion ES, some more dagger nodes, some more crit, some aura nodes, which help with running your 2 auras, some crit multi, some more ES, some more dagger nodes, which are pretty goddamn OP. Needed the strength node, some more ES. Then I went back and got some of the shield nodes, some more shield node, which also helps. This one also helps with your Molten Strike, some more deeps, and some crit. So the idea is you will be throwing some spectrals. They crit decently hard, 10k DPS. You generally freeze almost everything that you're critting, so that's part of your greatest defense. You use Blood Rage, which gains you your Life Leech. Also gives you 3 extra Frenzy charges. Molten Strike is your single target ability. It hits pretty hard. I'm actually really enjoying the skill. So I use it for bosses, single targeting res, or any mobs that are just lying around. And it has quite a high base damage. So as you can see, deals 120% of base damage. So that means your initial melee stab will give you more cold damage. So the more cold damage you have, the longer you freeze things when you crit them. So my general strategy for the harder hitting, the single target things like exiles, is to just rush at them, stab them, and they'll freeze, and then you just chain freeze them until they die. And since it hits rather hard, I'm running like 73 maps right now or so. Even something like Xandro Blood Drinker, the exile that just ruins lives. I just rush straight at him, freeze him with my stab, and kill him in 4 or 5 hits, so it's almost instant. It's really quite nice. And that's my general strategy for most exiles, for most hard-hitting things. You can take a couple of hits here and there. The Jade Flask will especially help with the amount you evade. It's up to 51%. Lasts a fairly long time too. And thanks to my Magnate 50% increased Flask charges gained, it all recharges pretty damn quickly, so I have it up for all of these up for pretty much every pack. Need a freeze the spell thing, which I currently use. I think this is just some flask I've had for quite a long time. I still use this because it's nice to actually get around places, and it's my curse immune flask. A bleeding flask, of course, and then a ruby flask, but I just didn't really need anything else, so I don't know, I left movement speed on there when I rolled it. Doesn't matter too much. Using crit weakness and enfeeble. Enfeeble is quite useful for us for a lot of the harder hitting things, paired with all of our block, our evasion. Things don't hit you too hard, and they don't hit you very often. So it's one of the keys to the spec. But if you can afford to use crit weakness on certain mobs, by all means, it'll make things die a lot quicker, freeze them for longer, and yeah, a good defense is also a good offense in many cases. So leveling up as this spec as is really quite painful, and I don't recommend it. Um, I mean, I did it, and getting to 60, it was still relatively quick, but it was fairly painful because you die to just about anything. You can't get too much defense early on. So I was running with pretty much base life all the way through to Merciless and up till like level 70 when I got all my gear on and spec in order and managed to go CI and all that. I had like 500 life for 65 levels. So it will be hard. It's a lot easier to maybe respec once you get there, or at least pick up some life, which I chose not to do. And wear some life gear. It'll probably make your life a lot easier, but I think the best way to go about it is probably just respec after leveling with something else. Or some other way, or yeah. I mean, I had really bad gear to start with because it was the first character, so didn't have any life on gear for the most part. But, you know, I think it's a really nice spec now once it comes together. You will kill stuff, you will progress through maps pretty quickly. Pair with a wonder or someone that gives you power charges or auras, and things get even better. If I missed anything, I'll try and answer the questions in YouTube, and I won't really make a guide for this. So that's about all I can say about that. I hope you have fun. This will probably be the spec that maybe, that I try out for the 4-month league to start with, because I think it has potential. I think it can progress nicely in gear and all that. I mean, I've used a Might Flay for like 60 levels, and then like 140 DPS dagger for 10 levels, and then I got this thing a few levels ago. And it's not even that great, but still you get some very solid mileage out of your daggers because of your spec, because of your abyss's. And it all works quite nicely together. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have fun with whatever spec you chose to play. Thanks.